Let's actually take a little test on this and see how much I'm like making people mad right now. How many of you guys have the title and are in the realm of sales enablement? Raise your hand. Okay. Put that down. How many of you are in that revenue enablement world right now? Okay. Cool. How many of you would agree with this? All right. I'm against the entire room. Maybe 3. Okay, cool. This will be fun. Don't ever let ChatGPT give you a controversial title for your presentation. This is what happens for you. All right, a little background on me so you guys know where I'm coming from on this. I, for over 20 years, was in a direct sales role. I worked with logistics, with transportation, with full-service leasing, and then I made the transition into the technical world, like you do. So then I worked for companies like Rackspace, and now, as of recent, I'm working with a company called Platform SH and /Upsun, doing platforms as a service. So I have a lot of deep integrated experience in sales. But then about 10 years ago, I also decided to get my master's in leadership development. I said, hey, I enjoy doing this as well. And so then on the side, I started doing consultancy for nonprofits and small businesses around building out leadership development and building out leadership development pipelines, all the fun stuff of that on the side. That all coalesced into about 2 years ago when at Platform SH, we didn't have an enablement function at all. We were close to about let's say, what were we, like 40 sellers at that point, but then also over 150 client-facing roles at the company. And coming into that, it was one of those things, having been in sales for so long, realized that as a seller, in my role, I realized there are so many more people that are part of the puzzle to make a deal close, to move a customer forward in their journey with us. And so whenever I started at Platform SH, I knew at that moment when I created our charter, we're not doing sales enablement, we're doing revenue enablement. That this is what we have to do, that we have to enable everybody in the company to be able to make this happen. So with that being said, I'd like to quote, in a way, one of the greatest prophets, I would say, of our time, Miss Tay, mother. I'm sorry, the old sales can't come to the phone right now. Why? Oh, she's dead. I'm not saying sales is dead in the sense of it's no longer something that we'll do, or sales enablement is not something we'll ever do. What I'm trying to say is it needs to change, it needs to evolve. We can't be the same thing that we used to be forever. And the reason I can say this is because I've experienced that in my own journey as I did sales. This is what I was taught about 18 years ago whenever I was at United Parcel Service and first started off in sales. That, hey, we're going to be modern, we're going to be so innovative, we're actually going to focus on the buyer and their cycle. We're not going to focus on our sales cycle, we're going to focus on the buyer's cycle. And therefore, we're going to be so innovative, we're going to focus everything on the buyer, but what we were doing in that moment was we were still focusing on one thing, the point of sale. We were trying to get to that decision, and then trying to get back to that decision, and trying to get back to that decision. And to me, that's an old sales model. That's an old way of doing sales. I came across about a month ago at an antique store. Actually, it was an antique flea market kind of situation. I'm looking back at my wife because she was there with me. I was walking through and there was this 3-ring binder that was ancient in front of me, and it was the Goodrich retail sales playbook. I was like, oh, okay. Being in sales, I'm like, this would be kind of cool to have on my back shelf there. So I open it up, I start looking through it, and I come to this section here, the power to sell, how to make more sales. I was like, all right, let's, maybe we can learn something from some old school models here. Maybe this would be fun, show it off. And so as I opened it, I got to this section. And this might be hard for you to see over here, but it talks about the tough customer. And it's a summary of the main points, the 5 main points for selling to a tough customer. And it says, start off, classify your project. Or not your project, your prospect. And so it's begin immediately to gain his interest. Find out, what is he into? Is he a looker, or is he actually going to be a buyer? Does he have a pet brand that he's in charge of? Certain type of batteries he wants? Then second is, sell your brand. And starts going through all these things of start with the great statement. Talk about your product features. Don't mind belittling remarks from the prospect. Show him, don't just tell him. All these things that we might even say now. Go through these features. Can anybody read what number 3 is? Learn his name. That was third in the priority list, is to actually know who this person is and what their name is. Why? Because that's old sales mindset. Is we're just trying to get to the sell. We just need to tell them the right things, show them the right things, get through the pitch, do steps A, B, C, and D, and then all of a sudden we'll close the deal. And this was true. I mean, B.F. Goodrich is still around. This worked. And because this is in the DNA of old sales, we have continued to use that sales model for years and years. And I'd say even today, we still lean on this in a way of like, we just got to say the right things, we got to do the right things, blah, blah, blah. And because of that, the reason why is because we have this kind of a mindset. The business buyer comes to the sales team to get the information. When a buyer wants to buy something, what do? I'm going to go talk to the salesperson and get the information I need to go buy this. That was probably true before, I'd say 1998, 99, 2000. Then this wonderful thing called the internet came along. Now buyers don't have to talk to us. And in fact, they can do research before they talk to us and find out, this doesn't match up. To the point now, there's two studies that I've come across. HubSpot, 2016, and LinkedIn in 2020 says anywhere between 3 and 2% of buyers trust salespeople. I think the 32% is like a high number. 3% seems more right from my personal experience, and that was my mom and my wife. I would say they would trust me when I was in sales. So for that reason, who are they listening to? If they don't trust the salesperson, who we're putting all this time, energy, money, resources into, who are they trusting? Well, according to Forrester Research, 66% of purchase influencers, so buyers, indicated that 2 to 9 people from outside of the organization were involved in the purchase decision. They're not listening to salespeople anymore. They're listening to consultants and partners. They're listening to their colleagues. They're listening to peers at other companies. They're going out and doing their own research. They're talking to analysts. They're talking to everybody else that is out there in the field, and then they're coming to talk to the salesperson. And 9 times out of 10, I bet you, they're hearing different things than that salesperson and trying to line it all up. And they know, well, that salesperson's got a quota, so they're probably saying whatever they can to get me to close this deal. Right? So what that does is it puts us in a place where we're at a disadvantage. And this is why I would say sales enablement is dead. Not in the sense of it's not pertinent, it doesn't bring value anymore. I still love the 1989 album. It's there. But reputation? Whoa, come on. I got 5 Tay-Tay fans in here this time. All right. For those that are, tell the ones at the table how good that was of a reference. Okay. So, with that being said, let's define really quickly what I'm saying about the difference between sales enablement and revenue enablement. These are my rough definitions of it. And don't worry, I will send this out to anybody afterwards if you want to email me. So if you're like sitting there scrambling to write these down, don't worry about it, I'll get it to you. Sales enablement is the strategic process of equipping sales teams with necessary tools, information, and content to sell more effectively. It focuses on enhancing the efficiency and productivity of sales operations, primarily aiming to improve direct sales performance and quota attainment. Okay? So that's sales enablement. It's focused on the sales team. Now let's talk about revenue enablement. Because I think once I give this definition, some of you might be going like, well, I'm already doing revenue enablement. Good. We can both agree then. Sales enablement is dead. Okay. We don't have to hate each other. Maybe I have to watch myself as I go to the park. Revenue enablement is a comprehensive strategy that empowers all client-facing roles across sales, marketing, customer success, and partner management with the tools, content, and training necessary to optimize the entire customer journey. Its objective is to drive cohesive efforts towards enhancing customer experience and maximizing revenue outcomes. Sales enablement is about direct sales. Revenue enablement is about customer experience. It's understanding that that customer is no longer talking to the salesperson for their experience. They're talking to everybody else. So therefore, we need to support the customer experience across that of everybody that they're talking to. Because whenever we do that, we level the playing field. It's no longer 1 versus 5. We get to have everybody in on the game. It becomes an even. And because we know whenever we start enabling all of these teams of people, they're having interactions outside of this with all those others. So therefore, we're no longer doing sales in a 1-to-1. We're playing 5 to 5, 6 to 6, 8 to 12. I think you guys, mine took me said 11 going to 22 people in a decision. There's no way one person, maybe 3 people on a sales team can do that kind of an influence. But if you start bringing in your customer success managers, you start bringing in your partners, your agencies, your channels, all of a sudden you have more opportunities available on that. So, how do we do this? What are the 3 pivotal shifts? Okay, great, you've sold me. I'm no longer going to follow you to your car and hit you with a book in the back of the head, the Sales Enablement playbook today. By the way, I got the same book. And we all got this. I think Amazon just knows, like, you got a mind shift, and they're like, you hop on there, like, you should buy this book. Okay. Buy it. So, shift number 1 is, is expand enablement across all your roles. The idea is you need to empower every role and then elevate the customer journey. Yep. Remember, this is about the customer experience. Yamini Rangan, and I probably butchered her name, but she's the CEO of HubSpot. She talks about value at every step a lot of times. And her idea of customer experience is this is her definition. Is customer experience is how your customers perceive their interactions with your company. It's about all the touch points they experience with your business, from first website visit to first interaction with your product to first time they need support. This is what your customers are judging you against. And then they're telling their friends, and they're telling their friends, and they're telling their friends. So who cares if you sold that one deal? You might have won the battle, you've lost the entire war if you're not supporting them through their entire experience. What does that look like? Here's what we did at Platform SH. So this is your typical customer journey. This is the new modern thing that we all talk about. Like, I remember going through all the trainings over the years and seeing it just constantly change from sales cycle to buying cycle to the customer So now we're on customer journey. Great. So when you're on sales enablement, this is what we started out with the concept. Okay, so whenever we're supporting sales enablement, this is great. We've got the entire customer journey here, right? Because we're supporting our BDRs, ISRs, and AEs who are right up there in the front with the discovery because they're doing cold calling. They're probably the first interaction that customers ever experienced. And then they're going through the evaluation, the commitment, and then the initial implementation of it. And then we have an account manager who's going to be there for the renewal, but they're hopping in there. We do that warm handoff. It does great. And all of a sudden, they're going to go into that initiation. They're using it because they have a great experience. They're starting to become an advocate for us. So you can look at it and say, hey, great. We supported them along every step of this journey. Great. But if you remember the quote from Yamini, she said, it's every touch point. This is, in reality, what it looks like, what they're experiencing. At least this is for us. You might have more roles, you might have more situations that you're running into, but the reality is every single one of these people on here are having a touch point with that customer. And they're judging you and determining, hey, are we going to do this deal? Are we going to close it? Am I going to renew it? Am I going to tell anybody else about it? Based upon their experience they're having here. Sales enablement says we focus on the top line and that's it. Revenue enablement says we focus on everybody. Making sure the customer has an amazing experience and they're understanding the value of the product all the way along the way. And therefore, we're going to put revenue enablement across the bottom, supporting it. Okay, love that transition. That's where the applause were supposed to come in. Okay. So, great idea, Greg. Let's make this practical. 3 ways you can start today. Okay? Every one of these points, pivotal, I'm going to give you 3 ways, literally, you can start today. First, broaden your mindset. Just by starting to think about this, you're already going to start thinking of different ways. Somebody earlier was asking about, okay, we just got all these others, how do we start supporting them with enablement? We've got customer success, we got, what was the thing, I can try and remember all. For me, whenever I took on there, I realized there's competencies across the board that everybody needs. That everybody needs business acumen. Everybody needs professional acumen. Everybody needs technical acumen. Everybody needs product acumen. No matter what, I've already been creating that content for my sellers, so now that I've broadened that, I can start providing that. Okay? Start networking. all of the leads, the heads of these different departments, you can set up a 30-minute meeting and just say, hey, I want to see if there's anything I can do right now to help you out. Maybe there's something that we can pass off. Maybe there's some way I can come in and support you. And then third, proactive versus reactive. When I started this, it was me. And you have all these different heads, you have that many people, there's no way I was going to be able to support everybody, but I wanted to talk to them and get to understand what their needs were. So I came in with very clear boundaries and understandings of expectations of, hey, I'm going to be proactive with some teams and reactive with others. You're a reactive team right now. You will have your day, you will have your time. Right now, I'm literally making that big shift right now. We've been very proactive in our account executives and our BDRs and some of our account managers, and I'm making a big, huge shift literally this week to starting to talk to our agencies and partners and directly enabling them. And I was able to tell the rest, you're now on reactive and I'm now proactive with these. Able to set those mindsets. But during that time frame, being able to hear them say, hey, we have a gap here and here, and I go, okay, I can help with that on this date with this materials, does that work? Yes. So just understanding those are the 3 steps you need there. Okay, now that we've broadened everything, let's talk about everybody's favorite topic, especially in revenue enablement and sales enablement, is let's talk about key performance indicators. Don't you love measurements and analytics? I hate them. I was in sales for 20 years. The one thing I wish I would have loved to stay in sales if you just removed the quota. Seriously. When it comes to this, we need to start moving a mindset away from quotas. Why? Because not everybody you're going to be enabling will have quotas. Okay? How many of you in sales enablement right now, your KPIs are tied directly to quota attainment, ACV? We got a few. We all know that's probably the dumbest thing in the world because you're not the one selling, you're enabling the people who are selling. But that's hard to get across to leadership, right? Because they hear sales in your title and they go, oh, that's your job. So what do we do? Well, first things first, this is Trishawn Washington. She was Trishawn Brown. She used to work for me. One of the most amazing, talented people. I love her. This was a quote she said to me whenever early on they were asking about the ROI and enablement, about KPIs and stuff like that. And she was just, I love this, just very fast. Enablement only brings value. All we do is train sellers to do the right thing. It's up to them to decide if they want to use it or not. So why are we being held to the fact that they're not doing what we say? And I was just like, ooh, yes. That our KPI should not be attained to whether they use our materials or not. It's our KPI should be attained to whether our materials are valuable to them or not. Right? It's not tied to whether they use it, it's tied to whether it's valuable or not. And I caught that early on, and so for me, realizing this, I made up a metric. You know you guys can do that, right? Like, all these things that are metrics, somebody made it up at one point, so that's what I did. So I created something called the net confidence score. Why? Because it sounds fancy, and it makes sense. So, as often as I can, I ask this question. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you agree with this statement? I feel like I have all the knowledge and materials I need to do my job with confidence and provide value to our customers. This applies to every single role. If enablement's doing their job, they should be able to say, yeah, I have the confidence, I got the knowledge, I've got the skills, I've got the materials that I can share with my customer, I have the resources, I have everything I need to do my job with confidence. I turn that up to everybody that's in a client-facing role, and of course I have other stuff on there, but that's my main one. This is my one metric to rule them all. If I do this right, I know I'm going good. And so we started off in March of 2022, whenever I first went on board and I got everything back, at a 6.0 average across the everybody. And then we slowly went up. And 6.0, you're like, okay, I don't know if that's good or not. I didn't either. So I just started with it and went from there. What I learned from that is that 6.0 was I had a lot of people in the low numbers because we didn't have enablement, and I had a lot of people in the high numbers. And then whenever we started doing enablement, all those numbers started moving in. You're like, wait, the high numbers got dumber? No, they got less confidence. Remember that? Dunning-Kruger effect kicked in. They really knew a little bit, but had a lot of ego around it. Then they started learning, going, oh, I don't know as much as I needed. And then we started picking back up on that. To where we were at 8.2, but then we did layoffs. So now we're back to the 7. You know, we all adjust from that. So here's what I would say. Here's how I've measured this. and figured this out over the last 2 years as I come across this. If you're 5 or lower, you're in the danger zone. It's a clear sign that your enablement is not having any kind of impacts. Things are off. You need to fix it immediately. If you are at a 6, there's hope. Probably things have been neglected, maybe you didn't even have it, and you just need to get it in place. If you're 7 or 8, that's good. Be happy. For a while there, I was at that 7.2, and I was just like telling my leadership, like, this is horrible. We need to be up at least over an 8, maybe into a 9. And they're just like, this is good. People are saying at least a 7? That's a passing grade. Give yourself a, I know, I want perfection. If you're 9 or 10, from my experience, if all your people are at that, maybe you have 2 people, good, you're in 9, 10 grade. If you have a lot of people in your 9, 10, you are elite. Please send me the link to your online store for me to take your courses on. So, how do we implement this today? First things first, get the survey. You can email me at greatquals.com. Yes, that's a joke, but it does work. So, me at greatquals.com, and I will send you the deck, and I will send you also the survey, a copy of it. You can modify and distribute, send it out, and then the last thing is once you get the feedback on that, look for the quick wins. Look for the quick, easy wins that you can say. Somebody's like, I wish we had a one-pager on this. You go, we have a one-pager on this. Why the hell aren't they? Don't get mad at it. They just didn't send it to them in Wednesday. I wish we had a course on this. We have 5 courses on this. Send it to them. Okay. Last pivotal shift. Cultivate continuous growth. So you've brought in your mindset. You're now getting feedback. You now know where you are. Now you need to start implementing and moving forward on putting out the materials on this. And we need to build in an ecosystem. We're not looking for a training process. We're looking for an ecosystem of what is called just-in-time enablement. How many of you guys have heard of like just-in-time learning, just-in-time enablement? Process. Okay. The idea is for your sellers to be able to have the information they need right when they need it. Whether that's materials, training, whatever it is. We're not thinking about, oh, I trained you 9 months in advance, and then how much of this are you going to retain until 9 months later whenever you actually need it. It's the idea of going, my customer, I looked at this, BDR said they're talking about this, I know we have a training, I reach out, I take the training right before, and I go in, I have it all ready to talk to the customer right then. So that's what just-in-time learning is. For me, there are 3 key principles you need to have in place to be able to do just-in-time learning. First, your content needs to be evergreen. You need to think every time you create a piece of content, how can I make this where it's going to last as long as possible? Now, this isn't going to be the case all the time, but you need to try to have that as a foundation behind what you're doing. That's taking away, hey guys, Merry Christmas at the very beginning of the training, because when the guy takes it in July, what? What's going on here? Or good morning on that video. They're taking it at 3 a.m. in the morning, so maybe that works. Who knows? It's those kinds of concepts where you're thinking evergreen. With us, I always say videos, any kind of video training is for high-level concepts, and then anything that is processed, that is very detailed, we put that in documentation. And we point to them, the documentation in the video, so that way if anything changes, like processes do every day, whenever the sales of the flavor of the month comes up with your leadership, of like, we're focusing on this, we need to change this, go and change the documentation, you're good to go. I also put in tag documentation afterwards a lot of times on the videos. So you're able to go back, you're not having to constantly re-record and do these videos. Second, asynchronous. It is just in time, does not mean, well, I missed that training that was 2 weeks ago. That's not just in time. So therefore, you have to have it asynchronous. You have to have a way for them to take the content when it works for them. And last but not least, it has to be inclusive. You don't know who's going to be taking this content and reading it and going from there. You can't be in a room where you can look out and see whether they're nodding their head or not or going along and then adjust in the moment of saying like, okay, that joke didn't land. I'm going to drop all my Taylor Swift references. Okay? You can't do that. So therefore, it's going to feel like, well, maybe this is bland. It's not bland. It's making it accessible. So you're thinking through what cultural references aren't going to work with the Germany team. Okay, I need to take those out. What kind of business references are not going to work with this? That where all of a sudden the account managers are not going to resonate with this because the entire time I'm talking about closing the deal and getting it closed. And they're like, I close a deal maybe once a year, so why are we so focused on this whenever I need to talk about how to get a deal? How do I do QBR? Walk me through that, Greg. I don't know. We'll figure that out someday. So think through inclusivity. These are the 3 things. What does this mean different for us? I'll go through these very quickly and use some time, hopefully to talk as we add the end of this. Traditional versus just-in-time. When it comes to timing and accessibility, what it means is whenever you're in a traditional model, everything has to fit in at a certain time in a certain place, everybody has to be there. Whenever you move to a just-in-time model, it allows anybody at any time to take that content and use it whenever they need it right now. That's the reason we're moving to this kind of model. Second, content relevance and durability. If you do in a traditional model where they have to be at the right place, right time to be able to take that content, okay, they took that content 2 weeks later, all of a sudden, oh wait, we were off, that product launch is actually doing this and we changed the name to this. Okay guys, we gotta do the training over again. We gotta figure out a time logistically we can get everybody to do this. With a just-in-time model where you're asynchronous, you're thinking evergreen, maybe you just change the title of the lesson and it's good to go. It makes it quicker and easier on your side, and it makes it relevant to them on their side. Learning pace. This is my favorite one. Whenever you do a traditional model where everybody's supposed to come together for the training and be a part of it, you have guys like me who have ADHD, who are insanely fast at learning, who are bored out of their mind and not listening to a word you say because I've already figured out what you were going to say, at least in my mind I am, and therefore I'm done with this. And then on the flip side of it, you have people that, like Christina, who's on my team, who English is her second language, and she's the most amazing person. But she's having to process 3 times. She's having to go from Spanish to English, to then understand her English, then go back to English to Spanish in her head to be able to understand what's going on. So she is 10 times smarter than me because she knows another language, but she's going to be slower. So therefore, in a traditional model, she's sitting there, we're fighting back and forth on this. Whereas you go to a just-in-time model, everybody gets to learn at their own pace. And the things that I already know, I get to review, and the things I don't know, I can do deep dive on and take more time if you want to. Okay? All right. Last one, diversity of voices. Whenever you do a traditional model where everybody comes in, you have one trainer doing it, maybe 2. That's great. Those are the only voices you get to hear from. Those are the only concepts you get to hear from, only backgrounds you get to hear from. You get to hear from a guy that has logistics history. Okay, cool, that's a great angle. What about if we could get somebody else that has a different angle, maybe from a medical history background, maybe a different voice, email, male, non-binary. All of those options come in there to where somebody can sit there and go, I resonate with this because it's the first time. So whenever you move to a just-in-time, you're able to reach out and have different subject matters, teach it, because you don't have to be tied to, well, can they make it at this time and at this point? No, you can do it on their time and on their calendar because of it. For me, one of the great things that we started doing is on some of our technical trainings, I've started going out and finding the YouTube videos out there that could trade them just the same as what we could do. 1, they had more production money put into it I would ever get. And then 2, they are able to explain it. And 3, it's a different voice than I would ever be able to bring into the table. So whenever you move to this model, you're able to have diversity in your voices. Okay, 3 ways to start today. Start recording everything. Record every one of your trainings. And you go, well, I don't know if it's evergreen. Don't care, you'll learn from it. You'll get better each step along the way. Why? Because if it's going to be evergreen and asynchronous, by nature, if it's asynchronous, it has to be recorded and available outside of you teaching it in a live moment. So start recording everything. Second, get a content management system. I imagine MindTickle would love to talk to you guys about this. There are a lot of them out there. Some of you, I understand you were, I started off and you said we don't have any budget. Great. Use a Google Drive and a Google Doc with links to the videos on the Google Doc or in the Google Drive. Just have your videos on there. That's great. Google Drive will actually caption it for you too. I love that. So you're able to put that in there and just walk them through there. That's day 1, you can start off with that, and then whenever you get MindTickle, they'll love you because all of a sudden you have, hey, here's the courses, the way we want to lay it out, and the path to it, and they go, oh, we can help you implement that. So the other ones can do that out there too. I'm just being really nice because MindTickle clearly is a sponsor of this event. We're on here. Last but not least, foster self-directed learning. Shift your mental priority from everything being in person to a self-led model. That's your primary. Everything else is secondary. Do we at Platform SH still do in person? We're 100% remote company, so in person to me is virtual. Hey, we're all going to do it. Yeah. Every 2 weeks we have what we call the Rev Up, and it's literally any client-facing person comes in there and we do 30-minute training around the most pertinent things. But guess what we do? We record that. We then turn around and put it on the content management system. So anybody that couldn't attend it is able to see it at that point. And then it's also evergreen. And then I add that into my onboarding for the future. But to me, that moment of them being there, whenever I have sellers reach out to me, hey Greg, I can't make the rev up, I go, cool, go sell something. Like, I don't care. whether you're here or not, because that's not the primary reason for it. The primary reason for me having that meeting is for those that is their way they want to learn, is they have to see somebody live in their mind. Cool, they get to have that opportunity, and then we turn around and use that content later. All right. I have no time left from this, as I'm looking out there. So, I called it. I knew I'd probably hit on there. If you want to email me at Great Falls, or claim this, you can email him at Great Falls. It both works. I'm on LinkedIn. I'll be here during coffee breaks. I'm here until tomorrow on that. But I'd love to talk to you guys, pick your brains, hear what you guys have to think about this. And I'm sorry I keep saying you guys. I'm trying to take that out of my language. I would hope y'all would. Thank you.